Let's take a quick look at some service and diagnostic tips. Accumulators and receiver dryers have a desiccant in them to absorb moisture. Always leave caps and seals on the components until you are ready to install them. If you receive a new component without caps on it, take it back and get a new replacement component. When servicing individual components, it's important to tape off or cover the lines left on the vehicle. That prevents air and moisture from entering the vehicle's air conditioning system. When replacing components or lines, always replace the associated gaskets and O-rings. They deteriorate and compress over time. Special care needs to be taken when installing new O-rings and gaskets to ensure you don't cut the new O-ring during installation. A small nick or cut will cause refrigerant to leak out of the system. Always lubricate new O-rings with clean mineral oil. This will aid in installation, preventing nicks and cuts, and also assist in sealing. This is a typical spring lock connection used on air conditioning systems. They're starting to phase these things out, but every time I think they're gone, they pop up on something I'm working on. So these things can be a challenge sometimes servicing. The main thing that you'll see is the garter spring, and the garter spring is what holds everything together. So what happens is inside this little housing, the garter spring lives. And when I put this piece of tubing and slide it over top of those O-rings, the O-rings seal on the inside of that tubing, and then the garter spring flips over the lip end of this and locks it into place internal to there. Finally, when we put it all together, we have an outside clamp. So when I take this, slide it in place, I push it until the garter spring snaps over top of the lip, and then put my final clip in place. Putting them together is not the challenge. Usually getting them apart is where you have problems. In order to remove the spring lock connection, you'll need a special tool that slides in place, and this is part of a kit that does fuel lines and larger spring locks as well. So the first thing that you'll do is remove your outer steel clip, and then you'll take your split tool, go over the line, and what this is going to do is spread away the garter spring up into the housing past the ridge on the tubing, so that way you can pull this loose. That sometimes is easier said than done. So I've had this one apart quite a few times, so my demonstration goes well. What you'll typically find, though, is the garter spring can become damaged or rusted in place, and the tool does not want to move it out of the way. So what many times you'll have to do is take a pick or a suitable tool, pull the garter spring out, and then you can remove the line as necessary. When replacing pressure sensors and switches, it is usually not required to recover the system. Most components and lines actually have a Schrader fitting built into them, along with an O-ring to seal the switch to the line or component. Always refer to service information for the correct procedure. This is an example of a manifold block style junction block. We have two washers that have the sealing rings embedded in them. We have a rigid manifold block, and then the corresponding side on the compressor. We use these on compressors oftentimes, and also in modern AC systems just to join two lines. The sealing washers go on the manifold, and then the manifold mounts to its corresponding component and is secured with a bolt. When serviced properly, the manifold or block style junction is a very reliable type of connection point. Always replace all associated washers and sealing O-rings. The thermal expansion valve is located at the inlet of the evaporator and the outlet of the evaporator, in this case because it is an H-block style TXV. This particular vehicle is able to have the TXV serviced from Underhood. Many vehicles such as Hondas often have to have dash components and the evaporator removed to service this piece. When servicing a TXV, all associated gaskets and O-rings must be replaced as well, similar to any other component. The location of the TXV presents challenges when installing it. Be careful not to cut or nick O-rings and gaskets when putting it in place. Orifice tube service can be done on or off the car, but usually it is performed on the vehicle. You have to find the junction in your line, carefully unthread that junction, and find where your orifice tube is located. Many times you will see a crimp in the line to locate that orifice tube. Some vehicles, the orifice tube is built into the line and it is not serviceable. You'll have to replace the whole liquid line assembly in that case. Your orifice tube assembly has two tabs located on the screen side. These are there for your orifice tube removal tool to lock onto. This will pull the orifice tube out of the liquid line. To use my orifice tube removal tool, I find the portion that fits on my particular orifice tube and thread it onto the center threaded portion of my tool. Once in place, I will hold the center section, and as I twist this nut portion, it will pull gradually the orifice tube out of the tube. Once your tool is locked in place, hold the center section and gradually twist collar to pull the orifice tube out of the tube. Many technicians will use a pair of needle nose pliers to grab onto the orifice tube and pull it out of the line. That works until the orifice tube breaks, and now we have a problem trying to remove it. For broken or damaged orifice tubes, the tool also comes with the extractor tool. This will thread into the broken extractor in place of the locking tabs of the normal tool. In some cases, the orifice tube will become damaged to the point where the tool will not remove it. I have used tools as crude as a drywall screw to remove a broken or damaged orifice tube. In some cases, the orifice tube will not come out, and replacement of the liquid line is necessary.
Please leave any questions in the comment section. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.